हरि ओम। वेंकटेश्वरन गोपाला महोदय, you can
नमस्ते
chant.
मैडम।
Namaste. You can chant.
पार्थायः प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथचला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवै रणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवच सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरम् हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानम् मुदा भूयात् भारत पङ्कजम् कलिमलप्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। हरि ओम्।
धन्यवादः। We'll just give 2 minutes. नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमतास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमतास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्य देवाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम् So, winding up the entire teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is summarizing the two main topics of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, repeating these two topics again and again to show that every seeker must be very clear about these two stages of sadhana. Karma Yoga was summarized from 41 to 49 earlier also. Once again, Krishna is summarizing Karma Yoga from this verse 56 up to 62, but making a very different emphasis in both these occasions. In the previous occasion, he emphasized karma. On this occasion, he is emphasizing the yoga part of Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga has two components, the karma part and yoga part, and both of them are equally important. So karma refers to proper action and yoga referring to proper attitude. So previously, while emphasizing the proper action, Lord Krishna said one has to take up any appropriate profession or occupation based on one's own character. Swabhavajam karma. Swabhava means our own temperament or character. Based on that, we can take up any karma, and whatever be the occupation we choose, the main aim is purification of the mind by contributing to the society. Earning or money that I get through my profession should be looked upon more as a byproduct service rather than the main thing. So we don't look upon we don't look upon the work as something that you use to gain establish material gains, whereas it is as the service to the world, right? So it is service or worship to the God himself. Swakarmana tamabhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. We saw this in the 46th verse of this chapter. So the profession is like a flower that we are offering to Vishwarupa Ishvara. So the whole world is a temple, and every karma or duty I do, whether I am discharging my responsibility towards the family members or the organization in which I am working or the society, look upon the very action as an offering to the Lord. Lord not in a particular temple, but the whole universe itself is Vishwarupa Ishvara. Thus choosing a profession depending upon the Swabhava was emphasized, and he divided the profession we saw into Karma Kshatriya, Karma Vaishya, Karma Brahmana, etc. And he defined each one of them. 4 different professions he enumerated. Now he is also going to talk about the Karma Yoga part only. Only aspect is he is going to emphasize on proper attitude, right, or bhakti. what type of bhakti a karma yogi must enjoy. Because the type of bhakti also must get gradually refined. As even a person is spiritually progressing, the type, the quality, or the very motive behind the bhakti must get very, very clear and defined. So Krishna himself talked about the level of bhakti in the 7th chapter. In the beginning stages, the bhakti that we have is only a bhakti in which we are interested in worldly goals, either money or relationship or land or freedom from, problems, which Krishna calls what? Artha Bhakti. And Artharthi Bhakti is more like business Bhakti, right? So my motive is only worldly issues, family issues, professional issues. We call it Sakama Bhakti. In Sakama Bhakti, I'm using Bhagavan only as a means, and Bhagavan is not my goal. So the goal is one of the things in the world that I want to attain. Therefore, in Sanskritam, a means is called a sadhana and the goal is called the sadhyam. We saw this in Introduction to Vedanta. If you now go back and see, you will be able to relate very well. So in Sakama Bhakti, in first level, the Bhakti is business Bhakti or contract Bhakti, right? I'm using Bhagavan as a means, right, for money, name, fame, etc. Between the means and the end, what do I value more? Anybody for that matter, right? So when you're entering, say, an auto or a car or an Uber, right? It's not out of love for that vehicle, right? Because you want to reach a particular destination, you're getting in there, right? So the moment you reach the destination, you pay the amount to the taxi or auto or anything, Uber, and then after that, you don't even remember the face of the auto rickshaw driver or anybody, right? Because means is important only for the sake of the end. So we love the means for the sake of the end, but what we love is the end only. So a Sakama Bhakta is love for God only, but it is because I'm using God as a means to attain something that I want, right? So it is through God I want to attain all kinds of worldly things. This bhakti is called Manda Bhakti, right? Whereas when a person becomes a Jignasu Bhaktaha, a Karma Yogi Bhaktaha, in his mind, God is not a means for something else, right? For him, God himself is a goal or destination. World is no more a destination. World becomes the means. Anityam is the means. Nityam is the end. So for Sakama Bhakta, it is the reverse. Nitya Ishvaraha is means and Anitya Prapancha is the end. Right? So just see the difference. Huh? For Sakama Bhakta, Nitya Ishvaraha is means and Anitya Prapancha is the end. He wants to pay God, right? God as the currency he wants to use, right? And he wants to purchase what? Dhanam, Dhanyam, Pashum, Bahuputra Labham. He wants to purchase by giving God as currency. Whereas a Karma Yogi does not consider anything in this world which is all perishable and fleeting. He does not consider as a goal because he knows that all of them are perishable. That means a Karma Yogi is far more mature. He does not want to get attached to anything in the world because that is subject to arrival and departure. Therefore, he looks upon the world as a means. That is why each one was called as an ashrama, brahmacharya ashrama, right? Grihastha ashrama, right? So according to the Shastra, the ashrama is not an end in itself. We have to live in a family, serve the family members, purify the mind, and then transcend all worldly relationships, right? Only one relationship we have to stick to, and that is what? The God relationship. All other relationships are temporary. If I don't leave them, they are anyway going to leave me one day, right? So therefore, all worldly relationships are only meant for service. The only relationship worth holding on to is Ishvara, right? So that is why when a person takes to sannyasa ashrama, sarva anga parityagaha he does. He chants a shloka at the time of sannyasa, right? Ananya shintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Oh Lord, I have dropped all the other sangha. Sarva sangha parityaga. I have done. I only hold on to this God, right? In Tirukural 350 or 359, you can check. Patruga, patratran, patrinai, right? Patruga, clinging or holding on or being attached, right? To patratran, one who is devoid of attachments, right? Patrinai, and to be attached to him only. Hold on to one God. All others are temporary. World is only a field of service. It is not a source of security. So a karma yogi's attitude towards the world is this. World is a field for service. World is never a source of security. Remembering this, he serves the world and family. So here, Bhagavan is the means and Bhagavan is the goal also. Thus, a Sakama Karmi keeps Bhagavan as the means, but a Nishkama Karma Yogi looks upon Bhagavan as Sadhyam. Bhagavan is Sadhana, is Manda Bhakti. Bhagavan is Sadhyam, is Madhyama Bhakti. That is also only Madhyama. A Karma Yogi is only a Madhyama Bhakta, right? A Karmi is a Manda Bhakta. A karma yogi is a madhyama bhaktaha. Then one has to come to jnana yoga, and in jnana yoga he inquires into the nature of God. Who really is God? Who am I? What is this creation, etc. Until now he has looked upon God as what? Ishta Devata, right? Rama, Krishna, etc. or Devi. They're all finite versions of God and they're not the real one. Only at the Jnana Yoga level, he inquires into the nature of God. So Sakama Bhakta also does not know the nature of God. Nishkama Bhakta also does not. It is Nishkama Bhakta also who does not know the nature of the God. When does he know about the nature of the God? Only when he comes to Jnana Yoga and he inquires. On inquiry, finally, what he discovers is God is neither means nor an end. God is neither, right? Because both, right, of them are finite in nature, means and end, right? God will then become Anatma, right? So in Jnana Yoga, the Upanishad declares that Bhagavan, whom you look upon as a goal, whom you think is located in Kailasha, Vaikunta, etc., as Krishna says, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutashe Stitaha, right? That happens to be my real nature. I am neither means nor end. It is my very self. So in Sanskrit, it is called Siddhaha. So that which is not sadhana, that which is not sadhyam, that which is Siddha Vastuhu, ever accomplished as self. Though through Jnana Yoga, he discovers God to be the very self. So here Krishna is talking about the Madhyama Bhakti of a Karma Yogi. And a Karma Yogi surrenders to God, keeping God as a goal in life. That is what is said in these shlokas. God is my goal of life, right? And why do I need God as goal? Because by choosing anything else, I wouldn't get lasting peace and security because everything else is perishable, right? So this was the verse that we were seeing, right? So Lord Krishna recognizes the fact that knowing the real God, the higher nature of it is not that easy because it is extremely abstract, right? Because when we say existence is all pervading, because nothing is visible, right? So some walls are there, some painting is there. So very difficult to discern that easiness, right? In every aspect of the the creation, right? So Vedanta asks me to separate the easiness from the wall, right? Not physically but intellectually, the easiness from all the non-living achetana beings, right? Achetana objects. So Vedanta asks me to separate the consciousness similarly from the body, again not physically but discerning it intellectually. Therefore, Vedanta requires the abstract task of separating existence from the inert world and consciousness from the living body, right? So exactly like when you're seeing my hand, right? You're actually seeing two things. One is my hand, and there's another thing that you don't discern until I tell you. What is that? That's the light principle. Because discerning the light itself is a tough job, right? So the separation of abstract light from the concrete things, from the hand, that is what is referred to as discerning, and we are, by through repeated practice, we can discern it. So discerning the existence from the world and consciousness, right, from the jivas, right, that requires a very, very subtle intellect. And that's why Krishna said in the 12th chapter, Kleshodi kataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad bhiravapyate. Jnana yoga is tougher, right? And if I find Jnana yoga tough, what should I do? Krishna says you can't skip Jnana yoga, because ultimately moksha is possible only through Jnana yoga, because ignorance will go only through knowledge. So you can't skip Jnana yoga. You continue to listen to the scriptures, whatever be the percentage you understand. When the mind gets prepared and becomes purer and purer, right? Then you listen to Gita, right? You continue to listen to Gita. The understanding of the Gita will become better and better, and absorption will become more and more, right? So instead of remembering just the anecdotes and the stories, you will start remembering the teaching, and you can actually remember the teaching at will. It happens. And in meditation, you don't need anything. You don't need a crutch. You don't need a guru saying something. You don't need to see a book. You can bring back all the teachings, right? So therefore, Krishna says one need not lose heart, continue Shravanam, but focus on Karma Yoga, which is very, very important. So therefore, from 56th verse, Krishna is coming down to Karma Yoga topic once again, from 56 to 62, and the emphasis is different, as I said, right? So in this part of Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna emphasizes the attitude, right? So he says, what is the point in continuously borrowing money and spending on things and being after materialistic things all the time, right? You don't even, you when you are borrowing, where is the question of dhanam? You can't do any seva, any dhanam, because your mind is always preoccupied, right? So please give the, basically the attitude of focusing on the Vishwarupa Ishvara and taking every contribution as a puja on a day-to-day basis is what is talked about here, right? So, yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yat juhoshi, dadasi yat pasyasi kaunteya, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam, mama arpanam. You please, submit all of this to me. Do it as an offering to Vishwarupa Ishvara, and therefore make it excellent, right? Because it is Ishwararpanam, you will do it well. Whatever job you do, whether it is office or to the family, do it with perfection. Thus the attitude of bhakti is highlighted. Sarva karmani api sada. Whatever karmas, activities you do as your duty, including the performance of family duties, dedicate to Ishvara without expecting even acknowledgement from the family, right? Swamiji says he gets a lot of complaints, right? Children don't reciprocate whatever we did. They don't take care of us, right? And so many things. They always have complaints, right? So a wonderful way of dealing with this is, do we not enjoy the process of bringing up children? We really enjoy, right? The way they, have been children. They have learned one by one their first step, their first words, the playfulness and their mischiefs, right? We enjoy the journey of bringing up the children and be thankful to Ishvara for that, without expecting anything out of them, because we did that to them, or we took care of them and we educated them. This attitude actually helps us deal with this kind of problem in the old age, when, because the children may not have the same values, although we did bring them up, but they could have different values, and they could have got exposed to different people and their prarabdha may be different, right? So without expecting any acknowledgement, that attitude of service is what is talked about here, right? So at the time of death, anyway, none of them are going to accompany. Sarvam vyartam marana samaye Shamba eva sahaya. Shamba Parameshwara is the only sahaya, right? So Bhaja Govindam, and Krishna also says in chapter 8, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalebaram. In the ICU, you cannot remember Krishna and the teachings if you are not used to it on a daily basis. So start the preparation right now. Therefore, hold on to God. Mad vyapashraya, taking shelter in me, do all your duties as an offering to the Lord, right? So that is a karma yogi attitude. It will not give you liberation. You have to go through jnana yoga for liberation, right? But it will provide all the infrastructure required for jnana yoga. The desire first to study the scriptures, the desire itself is a big infrastructure. Then a guru, right? Bhagavan, right, has a guru agency. As Swamiji says, if you're genuine, then automatically the guru comes knocking to the house, right? In a way, house or you start going, the guru will come, he will surface. Then you will go through Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam, right? Through that Krishna said, Mad Prasada, through my grace, by going through Jnana Yoga Avapnoti, you will attain God, right? Not by traveling, but by understanding that God has never been away from me. The all-pervading God can never be away from me, right? So the very thought that Bhagavan is elsewhere is a misconception. So Shashvatam Padam, right? The attainment to the God, the eternal abode of Bhagavan, Avyayam, which is never subject to decay or degeneration. That Ishvara Padam, Moksha Padam Avapnoti. That's the meaning of this verse. चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः बुद्धियोगमुपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव Sarvakarmani chetasa sanyasya sarvakarmani means whatever activities you take to. Sarvakarmani, mai sanyasya. Here the word sannyasa does not mean renunciation. Here sannyasa means dedication. Dedicate all your activities unto me. And how do you dedicate physically? You can't do that. If it is a flower, you can put it at the feet of the Lord. So when I am doing my office work, how do I dedicate? Before I start the work, I close my eyes for 1 minute, think of the Lord, and then say in my mind, Yadyat karma karomi tattat takila shambho tavaradhanam. I remember this activity I dedicate to you, and whatever be the consequences, I am willing to accept as your prasada. I will refuse to worry about my future. One indication of dedication is worry regarding the future will come down. If worry continues, then the dedication is only lip service, right? It does not come from the heart. That's what it means, right? So when I'm old, who will be around me? Whether my children will be around me, right? They are not here. Most of them are abroad. They can't come during Corona time, right? Therefore, whether they will come, when will they stay with me? All those things we don't know. I can't know because I don't know about the future, right? So other problem is between spouses, Swamiji keeps saying, who will outlive the other person? What will happen? Or who will look after the other person? This is a major worry amongst older people, right? Everybody starts getting these kind of questions as we, start aging, right? So all these are different kinds of worries for which the solution is only surrendering unconditionally to the Lord. Otherwise, anxiety, fear, stress, etc. will be there. And the stress is not going to solve the problem. Stress will only aggravate the problem, right? Therefore, mai sanyasya. And what is the goal of life? Mat paraha. A karma yogi has got only one goal. That is God. Because from the scriptures, I know that it is the only source of peace, security, and happiness. So, mat paraha buddhi yogam upashritya. Buddhi yogam is another name for karma yoga, right? It's called yoga because it is with appropriate attitudes. The two important attitudes, never forget Ishwararpana Bhavana and Ishwara Prasada Bhavana. Yadyad Bhavyam Bhavatu Bhagavan Purva Karmanurupam. We saw this from Mukundamala, right? So many times I've quoted this. What has to happen will happen, right? Oh Bhagavan, you have to give it to me as the karma paladata. So you give me that experience, not in line with your likes and dislikes, but based on the karma that I have done. So Bhagavan has to give me pain, right, and pleasure as it is applicable, right? These two bhavanas are here called buddhi yogam upashritya, taking resort to matchitaha satatam bhava. Never forget me under any circumstance. Right? As I've often quoted, this beautiful verse says, Vipado naiva vipadaha, sampado naiva sampadaha, vipad vismaranam vishnoho, sampan narayana smritihi. Adversity is not adversity, right? Prosperity is not prosperity. You will wonder what is that, right? So what is adversity and what is prosperity? The shloka says, Vipada Vismaranam Vishnoho. Forgetting the Lord is adversity. Because when I forget the Lord, even minor problems get magnified. Because our capacity to magnify is so much. When the doctor says check up, I start thinking, oh my God, what the result is going to be. And I imagine all the diseases mentally. So what is prosperity? Sampat samsmaranam harehe, right? So remembering the Lord is the biggest wealth, right? And because when that wealth is there, the worst adversity will actually get demagnified or appear very small. As Anjaneya showed, right? Because of his bhakti, what all he could accomplish, right? So in Hanuman Namaskara, very interesting, right? Hanuman Namaskaraha, Goshpadi-krita varisham, Mashaki-krita rakshasam, Ramayana Mahamala, Ratnam Vande Nilatmajam. So he had to cross the whole ocean, which was so vast. Who can think of crossing the ocean, right? Anjaneya effortlessly crossed, and for him the ocean was what? Goshpadi-kritam. Goshpadam is a small pool of water of the size of the hoof of a cow. When a cow walks on the wet mud, you have that small depression, right? On the rainy day, the water falls in. So the ocean became like that. Goshpadam varisham, right? And for Anjaneya, the ocean has become a pool. Bhaktihi, mashaki krita rakshasam, right? So basically, the Rakshasas have become like what? Mosquitoes for Anjaneya, right? So thus, because of that bhakti for Anjaneya, right, they became like bhakti of Anjaneya, the Rakshasas became mosquitoes, right? So Krishna says, Matchitaha, remember me as the backup, Satatam Bhava, constantly, Ishvara Smaranam. Day beginning with Ishvara Smaranam, day ending with Ishvara Smaranam. Continuing with the next verse. Machchitta sarva durgani, Machchitta sarva durgani, Matprasadat tarishyasi, Matprasadat tarishyasi, Atachetvam ahankarat, Atachetvam ahankarat, Nashroshyasi vinangshyasi, Nashroshyasi vinangshyasi. So no doubt the spiritual journey is an uphill task, because even getting the qualification is not that easy. In the 13th verse, we saw 20 values. Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantihi. 16th chapter, he enumerated 26 virtues, right? Abhayam, Sattva Samshuddhihi, Jnana Yoga Vyavastitaha. All these qualifications are very difficult. And when we come to Jnana Yoga, that is also difficult because the real nature of God is extremely subtle, like Akasha. The space is all pervading. It doesn't have color, taste, any of the Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, nothing, right? So Akasha is also very fine to comprehend, right? So God is in his real nature is subtler than the Akasha. Therefore, it requires an extremely subtle intellect to know the real God, which means not only emotionally, I should refine intellectually also, right? Therefore, when we think of those steps, we start thinking moksha is very, very difficult. Krishna says, don't worry, you will be able to go through all these stages provided you surrender to the Lord. Therefore, he says, mat chittaha, keeping your mind in me and taking me as your shelter, Sarva Durgani, all the obstacles you will be able to cross over. Right? Note that the bhakta can can evade Jnana Yoga, right? It is not compulsory for all. The Jnana Yoga, which is difficult in the beginning, will become easy, right? So we'll start wondering. Now suddenly I am able to understand this Vedanta. Earlier I didn't understand why. The concept automatically starts getting clearer and clearer, right? And you start wondering whether this is really Vedanta. How come I am able to understand, right? So Bhagavan makes Vedantic knowledge itself very easy for me to understand, and the knowledge comes effortlessly. You don't have to make any special effort, right? Just a sincere prayer to the Lord is enough. So, and continue the Shravana. So, Mat Prasadat, by my grace, Sarva Durgani, all the obstacles, hurdles for Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. One thing we must remember, even detachment from the family, wife, children, husband, that's also not easy because the attachment is so strong, right? So, many people may say, right, if I should have detachment from my family, I don't want moksha. Therefore, detachment is tough. But we will be able to gradually get to that also. In fact, as Swamiji says, very sad that in most families, the behaviors will automatically give us detachment as we grow older and older. So therefore, initially attachment will be there. After that, we will get detachment by ourselves. So we need not work for detachment, right? Therefore, tarishyasi, you will get over. Therefore, Arjuna, my advice is, in this battlefield, Arjuna wants to remind us of the situation in which the whole Gita is going on. The background setup has been given in the first chapter. Now, many students may not have even listened to the first chapter because it was 130 odd classes back, almost 3 years back, right? So, even 17th chapter to remember is difficult. Where is the question of first chapter, right? So the problem of Arjuna was attachment to Bhishma, Drona, and others. He thought that they will be his security all the time, and because they were all his elders, right? And he's grown up on their laps, right? He was holding on to them, and because of that peculiar, right, what you call prarabdha, the very Bhishma and Drona are standing in the opposite side. His victory in Mahabharata war requires literally finishing them off, right? What an irony. And that's how Arjuna is in conflict, right? The flashback and the current situation. How can I kill them and how can I think of a life without them? And that is the fear of all of us. Raga, moha, shoka, attachment, therefore delusion, and then sorrow. So this is a fundamental problem, and because of this attachment alone, Arjuna is now thinking of renouncing this very swadharma, which is for a kshatriya, the fighting of a dharma yuddha. So now Krishna gives a warning. Because of your attachment, if you renounce your swadharma of the Mahabharata war, claiming that I want to go to Rishikesh and do meditation, etc., I know your character, Arjuna. You can't sit in meditation because a Rajoguna person can't sit even for 5 minutes, let alone meditate. You have to transcend Rajoguna and come to Sattva-guna, which requires a lot of karma. Therefore, Lord Krishna wants Arjuna, ahankarat nashroshyasi chet. If you don't listen to me and perform your duty of dharma yuddham, nashroshyasi, because of your ahankara and the ahankara based attachment, Nashroshyasi, vinangshyasi. You will spiritually perish because you're renouncing karma yoga also and you're not ready for jnana yoga. So neither karma yoga nor jnana yoga, you will be hanging like a trishanku. Therefore, vinangshyasi means you will spiritually perish. So if Arjuna had a contemplative mind, right, you must remember, he was in the forest. In fact, he could have started from Tattva Bodha in 13 years and done lot of Vedantic study. Instead, what did he do? If you remember Kirata Arjuniyam story, many of you who have studied Sanskritam would have gone through it, right? So, for the sake of Pashupata Astram, he was meditating for so long for Pashupata Astram, right? So that he can accumulate all these weapons and fight Karna and Duryodhana. Mention of the word Karna and Duryodhana would raise his blood pressure, right? So he never thought of taking sannyasa all this while. Therefore, now you have to fight, right? Then come to jnana yoga afterwards. This is my advice, right? Otherwise, you will stray away. Yadyahankaramashritya nayotsya iti manyase न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिः स्वां नियोक्ष्यति The warning Lord Krishna re-emphasizes here. Na yotsya iti manyase. If you think or decide that I will not fight this Mahabharata war for which you have come to this battlefield, right? If you decide to drop that war, ahankara ashritya, because of your ego, in spite of Bhagavan Krishna's teaching, if you disobey my suggestion out of your ego, eshaha te vyavasayaha, this resolve of yours will be mithya or futile, right? Because you may go to Himalayas with an idea of jnana yoga, right? Claiming that because of your rajasic swabhava, there, you can do something. I'm going to Himalayas. But Arjuna, you can't sit quiet, right? Even now, there are a lot of people who renounce their family and go to Rishikesh, Uttarakashi, etc. They go not because of detachment, but because they are angry with their children or they're angry with their wife or some property dispute. They become sannyasis and they are engaged in fighting on something or the other with the Uttarakhand government. Ganga pollution problem, right? Sannyasis Ganga Welfare Association. Swamiji says that these are all happening, right? And there is a dam being built, so they're polluting. So they form an association against that. He says, I'm not saying don't do all this. I am saying as a sannyasi, that is not your ashrama dharma, right? So they are engaged in everything except jnana yoga. Therefore, Arjuna, this is what you should do. Nothing wrong in doing that. But when you decide to go for jnanam, then doing all these activities is not correct, because in our tradition, sannyasa ashrama is designed for shravanam, mananam and nididhyasanam. That is why sannyasa is called vividisha sannyasa, right? Vetum icha, that's a sandanta. Vividisha sannyasa means for shravanam and mananam. There is another sannyasa called vidvat sannyasa, which is after shravanam and mananam, when a person takes to sannyasa for contemplation or nididhyasanam. That sannyasa ashrama is designed for that. So that is vidvat sannyasa, right? So therefore, Krishna actually knows that Arjuna is not fit for going away, and therefore he gives a very strong warning. Yet ahankara ashritya, if you take an independent decision because of your ego, disrespecting my suggestion, you may go to a quiet place, right? Then you will start a sannyasi welfare organization only. So Arjuna, listen to me. Mityaisha vyavasayaste. Your decision for a quiet life will not work because prakritihi tvam niyokshyati, means your nature or tendency, tvam niyokshyati, will impel you, compel you, pressurize you, persuade you to get into an active life. Instead of doing that elsewhere, do it here with an attitude of Ishvara Sharanagati. Even a war can become a puja. Therefore, may you fight with Ishwararpana and Prasada Bhavana. This is the message of Karma Yoga, right, which continues in the following shlokas also. Up to verse 62, Karma Yoga is being emphasized, and Krishna is emphasizing Sharanagati also here. Swabhavajena Kaunteya, Swabhavajena Kaunteya, Nibaddhasvena Karmana, Nibaddhasvena Karmana, Kartum Nechasi Mohat, Kartum Nechasi Mohat, Karishyasva Shopi Tat, Karishyasya Vashopi Tat. Here, Krishna says everyone is born with a character or swabhava which has been brought forward to this life from the previous Janma itself. When a person leaves this body, right, and takes another body, he is dropping the Sthula Shariram, but the Sukshma Shariram continues. So the mind also survives, and in the mind, the swabhava also survives. So Sattva Pradhana, Rajas Pradhana, or Tama Pradhana. Arjuna, you have come with Rajasic tendency. Your life will be governed by this character. Respect the tendency and take your profession in keeping with the tendency. Therefore, Swabhavajena Svena Karmana. That this profession which is determined by your Swabhava, right? I talked about the 4 professions, right? Based on the Guna. So you have a Kshatriya Swabhava, which is that activity oriented. And Mohat Kartum Na Ichasi Chet. If you try to abandon that because of your delusion, you try to abandon your Swabhavaja Karma, hey Arjuna, you will not be able to do that. Karishyasi avavashopi tat, helplessly, right? Avashopi tat, you will do the same thing elsewhere. Avashopi, right? Karishyasi avashaha api tat, helplessly you will do the same thing elsewhere, right? So Swamiji used to quote an example. There is a Swamiji who was a very good chartered accountant. He decided to take sannyasa and go and stay in the Rishikesh ashram. What happened? People found that he was a good chartered accountant and he was managing the accounts. So they said, please, can you come and help us manage the ashram's accounts. So instead of managing the accounts here in his profession, as a sannyasi, he started managing the accounts of the Rishikesh ashram. So finally, he did not get time to do his studies. So somebody had to remind him about that. And then, of course, he started spending more time on the Jnana Yoga. Therefore, he says, avashaha api, right? Helplessly, you will be forced to do that. Therefore, what is the best thing? Fight the war with Ishwararpana Bhavana. Continuing. Ishvara sarva bhutanam, Ishvara sarva bhutanam, Hriddesherjuna tishtati, Hriddesherjuna tishtati, Brahmayan sarva bhutani, Brahmayan sarva bhutani, Yantrarudani mayaya, Yantrarudani mayaya. So Lord Krishna, who makes all the people act in the world, right, according to his or own swabhava, that Lord is very much there in our own heart. The Lord alone activates our swabhava at the appropriate moment, and because of the activated swabhava, right, swabhava means character, right? Lord is the karmadhyakshaha, karma phaladata. He is behind the karta also, making a person act according to his swabhava, and he is behind the bhokta also, the enjoyer. Bhagavan is there, right? And he does not activate a person according to his whims and fancies, but he activates the person according to the swabhava. Just as the electricity functions behind the fan and makes the fan rotate, the swabhava designed for that, right? The same electricity is behind the computer, is behind the mic, it is behind the fan, behind the light, etc. Right? Similarly, we've all got character, personality based vasana. they all get activated at the appropriate time. That is why one parent bringing up multiple children, the children all become different, right? One becomes a politician, one may become a sannyasi, one may become an academician, right? Because each one comes with the swabhava of the Purva Janma. Therefore, Lord Krishna says here, Arjuna, Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam hriddeshe tishtati. As the Sakshi Chaitanyam, witness consciousness, the all-pervading Ishvara is in the heart of everyone. Ishvaraha, the Chaitanya Tattvam, sarvabhutanam, of all living beings, hriddeshe, right? Even animals, right? And all of them, Ishvara is behind them in the form of Sakshi Chaitanyam, in the heart, Sakshi Chaitanyam, in the heart as the witness, right? Arjuna tishtati. And what does that Bhagavan do? Sarva Bhutani Brahmayan, making every living being act in the world according to their own Purva Janma Swabhava, right? Natural, right? Aside topic we should notice, can we change our Swabhava? The doubt will come, right? Can the Swabhava be changed? There are certain core personalities which cannot be changed. It can only be modified, but there are many that can be changed. That is why Bhagavan has given the free will and we can change our character. And that is why we have got scriptures to guide us, the acharyas to guide us. And they say, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. What you watch, what kind of books you read, with whom do you move, right? All of this can be changed and that can actually influence and make your Rajo Guna Pradana lifestyle to Sattva Guna Pradana lifestyle. Slowly it can change. It's a gradual evolution. It's not a revolution, but an evolution. Therefore, Bhagavan is there. Brahmayan. Brahmayan means activating everyone, making everyone move about according to their character. Sarva Bhutani. Bhutani means living being, right? And Ishvara functions with the help of Mayaya, with the Maya Shakti, because pure consciousness is Akarta, Abhokta. Ishvara is Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Karta, Karmadhyaksha Phala Data, Karma Phala Data. Ishvara does all this with Mayaya, right? And he gives an example here. Yantra Arudani Eva, like being mounted on a machine, as if we are mounted on a machine, right? So I found this very interesting. I wanted to read more about it, so I went to the Bhashyam actually, right? So Shankaracharya uses the term like the puppeteer who actually uses the string to control the puppets, right? So that is what he uses here as an explanation, but as if being mounted and charged and moved by a machine, right? So that is what is meant here. Now, but we must remember that we accept fate as well as free will. Totally claiming that everything is under my control is also wrong. Life is always governed by both, right? The previous janma, which is leading to the, the prarabdha karma, and free will. Both together will decide our future. Swabhava is fate, and listening to Krishna's, right, advice, right? We also, he's going to tell in the next shloka, you just wait, he is going to tell that I have given you my teaching. Now you use your free will, use your discretion and choose the course of your action. I am not going to take this decision for you. He's going to say that to Arjuna, right? So a very, very interesting aspect here, right? Which I think the slightly senior students will be able to understand. Just go back, bring the diagram from Introduction to Vedanta, where you have Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, right? Vishwa is the RC, which is behind the Sthula Shariram. Taijasa is the RC, reflected consciousness, behind the Sukshma Shariram. And Prajna is the reflected consciousness behind the Karana Shariram, right? So Shankaracharya brings about a very, very important point here, and I thought I should tell you this. This is from the Bhashyam, right? So the prarabdha handling Ishvara is sitting within you in the form of prajna. Prajna, the reflected consciousness behind the Karana Shariram, the third pada in Mandukya Karika. if you all are going to continue Upanishad class, we'll come to Mandukya Karika at one stage, right? So the third pada of Mandukya Karika, right? So free will is where in the Taijasa. Why does he say so? It is in the second pada, right? Why? Because Taijasa is the reflected consciousness in the Sukshma Shariram. So the sense organs, mind, etc., right? The free will, the intellect, etc., influence the free will to take a decision. So what Acharya is trying to say is the Taijasa is working, operating as your intellect, right? Your free will in the Sukshma Sharira level, and your prajna, which has all the vasanas of the previous janmas, is acting as the fate at the karana sharira level. A very subtle point. And both these together, the resultant, right, force is what determines what's happening to you. So you can influence, right, what is happening to you by using your intellect and directing your life, right, in a way that you want it to be. A very subtle point and a very beautiful point. So I thought I should, explain this to you, right? So Ishvara controls through prarabdha karma and prarabdha vasana, through prajna, and right. So the through prajna he controls the Vishwa, right? And if you see the Taijasa, the Jiva is also inside Taijasa, and in Taijasa it is actually being controlled through our intellect, right? So Taijasa Rupena Jivatma, Prajna Rupena Paramatma is working through the Vishwa, basically a combination of both, right? So if you have not understood this portion, it doesn't matter, but it's a very beautiful concept which I found in the Bhashyam. So I thought I enjoyed it, so I thought I should share with all of you, right? So the Antaryami, you might remember that Antaryami is what is, we call as the Vishwa Taijasa Prajna Virat Hiranyagarbha Antaryami. Antaryami is the indweller, right, at the Samashti level, right? So if you see this aspect of this on the nature of Ishvara, right? Who is God, right? The nature of Ishvara is dealt with in the 61st verse of the 18th chapter. It is also dealt with, obviously Gita is borrowing from the Upanishad, right? So it is from the Brihadaranyaka 3rd chapter 7th section, right? And also from the Mandukya Upanishad 6th mantra, which goes as Esha Sarveshwara, Esha Sarvagnya, Eshontaryami, Esha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapya Yogi Bhutanam. So as Antaryami Brahmanam, in Antaryami Brahmanam, this is talked about as Antaryami, right? The Ishvara, the Karana Ishvara is operating in each of the individual jivas. Very beautiful context, right? Very nicely explained by on Shankara Bhashyam of the Gita. Continuing, Tameva Sharanam Gaccha, Tameva Sharanam Gaccha, Sarvabhavena Bharata, Sarvabhavena Bharata, Tat Prasadat Param Shantim, Tat Prasadat Param Shantim, Sthanam Prapsyasi Shashvatam, Sthanam Prapsyasi Shashvatam. So Arjuna, my advice to you is this: Tam Ishwaram eva sharanam gaccha. May you surrender to the Lord, right? It should be in the form of Ishwararpana Bhavana, converting all professions, whatever you do, as a worship to Ishwara, even your household duties. Whether my job is supervised by others or not, I do it to the best of my capacity. So this is called Sharanagati. Whatever are the consequences, I accept it as Ishvara Prasada, right? Therefore, Sarva Bhavena, wholeheartedly, may you surrender to me, Tat Prasada. By following this Karma Yoga, you're anyway going to get my grace in the form of spiritual Punyam, and the spiritual Punyam expresses in the form of desire for moksha or Ishvara as the main goal of life. So the desire is the first benefit of Karma Yoga, the desire for moksha, right? And nothing else can give me moksha except spiritual knowledge. And Krishna tells in the 4th chapter, Sarvam Karmakhilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. All the sadhanas you may do, right? At last, you have to definitely come to spiritual knowledge. That's the final door to liberation. Therefore, desire for moksha should be converted to desire for knowledge. Then exposure to teaching comes from an acharya. Krishna said that, right? Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. You have to listen to this teaching. Thus, moksha icha jananecha shravana icha. Desire for spiritual education program. Therefore, he says, Tat prasadat, by his grace, shashvatam sthanam prapsyasi. You will ultimately attain the permanent abode of moksha, otherwise called Ishvara, otherwise called Brahman, right? So, what is that Ishvara? Right? Very careful. It is not attained after long travel, etc. It is discovering Ishvara in my own body, understanding that Ishvara has never been far away. Right? Shantim prapsyasi. You will get a peace which is enduring, and through the ups and downs of life, you will enjoy an inner peace all the time, like a tambura shruti. You will enjoy this peace all the time, right? And this is moksha. And as Swamiji says, it is typically like, you know, the players playing this, suppose in a 5-day series, 3 matches they have won, right? Playing the 4th and 5th match is very, very easy and so peaceful for the already one team, right? So like that, you will have an inner peace, right? And that's what Krishna calls as para shantim, right? Param shantim here refers to that, that in enduring deep peace you will discover. Iti te jnanamakyatam, iti te jnanamakyatam, guhyaduhyataram maya, guhyaduhyataram maya, vimushyaitadasheshena, vimushyaitadasheshena, yatechasi tata kuru, yatechasi tata kuru. So with the 62nd verse, the Karma Yoga summary is over. Now with the following 4 verses, 63 to 66, Krishna once again winds up the whole teaching in 4 verses. Before that, he makes a very important point. Arjuna, in the following verses, right, he's going to make this point, and he's starting here. I don't want to give you an advice because you have surrendered to me as a disciple. Because you said Shishyaste aham shadimam tuam prapannam, I am your disciple. I want you to learn, right? Understand and take the right decision. That means Arjuna also does not want Krishna to decide for him. Krishna also does not want to decide for Arjuna. So we've got free will and we should take responsibility for our life. So maturity is making our own informed choices. So human beings should learn to use this intellect, in their own intellect, and learn to make informed choices. All the other people should not take decision for me. They can at best give their inputs, right? Now I should take responsibility for my life because I'm a human being, right? We are not dogs or animals where the Bhagavan has actually decided that they need not have discriminative power, right? So they are only exhausting their prarabdha. They are not accumulating agami. Bhagavan has given us a better intellect only for this to take a decision. A very important shloka that way. Gita does not give advice. Gita must remember it is not fatalistic. It has presented everything, all the teachings. It says, feel free to do karma yoga, right? You lot of good things will happen. You will not have stress, etc. Continue in your society, all of that, right? Gita educates us so that we can take better choices in life. Very, very important. Therefore, Krishna says here, iti te jnanam akyatam. My responsibility as a guru is educating you. What are the worldly goals? I've talked about, right? I've also talked about moksha. I've talked about the nature of all these goals. All these goals, right? dharma, artha and kama, they have three kinds of drawbacks. They are dukkha mishritatvam, mixed with pain, atraptikaratvam, never giving fulfillment, bandhakatvam, causing addiction or attachment, right? So moksha is different from all these three. We saw that in the 8th chapter, in the 16th verse. Abrahma bhuvanan lokaha punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Right? Krishna presented God or moksha as a goal and the plus points also. Right? And he says karma yoga is all giving finite goals. Right? But infinite goal is, by its very nature of moksha, it is here and now. It is a matter to be discovered, jnanam. For one, karma is the sadhana. For another, jnanam is the sadhana. And to prepare for jnanam, karma yoga is important. Thus, Krishna has given the total picture, and now reasonably confident. The Guru says, now the decision is yours. After listening to all my teaching, if you say, Krishna, drive the chariot and go to Rishikesh, I will do it. If you say, I am ready to fight, then also it is okay. I have done my job. Therefore, he says, Jnanam Akyatam, the teaching has been given to you, and this is a very, very secret teaching, Guhyat Guhyataram, right? Only few people know about it, right? Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, we saw that, right? So, my love for you, Arjuna, I have taught, right? But Krishna also seems to have some worry that Arjuna may thoughtfully make a wrong decision. Therefore, he says, before you take the last decision, once again, I will like to summarize the Gita. His heart is beating, right? Because of his liking for this student, right? Krishna in Krishna Avatara. Therefore, once again, I will summarize the entire Gita, Arjuna. Listen to me. And he's going to summarize in just two verses, right? Actually two verses, which are very, very important verses, which we will see tomorrow. Right? Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yeah, somebody wanted my email ID. You can write to this ID, vedantasatsanga@gmail.com. That's my ID. You would be able to reach me. Right? Please note down. I think it was Aparna who asked me a question. Yes, Aparna. Okay, note down. Anybody else has any other questions? Okay. So tomorrow we will see how far we can cover the most important verse, which is verse 66. Sarvadharman Parityajya. We will see. Otherwise, we will continue after that also. So tomorrow, 6:25, we will meet again. Hari Om.